Another bonus weekend stream. We're back here, and this time we're back here because of ETH. So ETH actually started moving, and there are a couple of catalysts this week that should make ETH continue the move. So right now ETH is over $3,000, and this move may actually continue. And the truth is that with these catalysts, I think that this ETH trade, and it's not only ETH, it's all the related tokens, could be like the easiest way to make money. So today I'm going to show you the catalysts, I'm going to show you the data, and I'm going to show you like the easiest way to make money out of this ETH trade. Because let's be honest with one another, the ETH trade isn't exciting. And because it's not exciting, we don't want to trade it. But I'm going to show you one way where you can put down a little bit of money and make a lot of money on ETH. So another Sunday stream. If you're here, if you want more of these Sunday streams, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go. I see people commenting about yesterday's stream. What a banger! What a banging stream. So this was a stream we did yesterday. It was this one. Over 100,000 views. Over 100,000 views already on that stream. We called 𝗘𝗘𝗢 on that stream. I don't know if you guys watched it. I told you guys the thesis for 𝗘𝗘𝗢. Just look at what happened to 𝗘𝗘𝗢 after we called it. Also, for the people in front runners, you know that I told you guys 𝗪𝗚𝗪𝗚. Here we are again, 𝗪𝗚 1536. Remember this. This is going to have a big move this week because they're launching this 𝗪𝗚 parallel computer this week, and that I think $25 on 𝗪𝗚 is going to be just the beginning. But today is not about 𝗪𝗚 and it's not about 𝗘𝗘𝗢. It's actually about Ethereum, and it's about Ethereum layer 2. So you could technically say maybe we will talk about 𝗘𝗘𝗢 again. In fact, I can tell you 100% we're going to talk about 𝗘𝗘𝗢 again. But the main thing is today we're going to be talking about ETH and probably what is the easiest risk return trade of the entire week and probably the entire year. And you know me, I'm not really excited about trading ETH because I just think that they trade ETH in the nursing homes. That's where you trade ETH because it hardly moves. But there is a way that you can put down a little bit of money and make a lot of money on ETH and ETH related tokens. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. So if you love these Sunday streams and you want more of these Sunday streams, smash the like button, obliterate the like button. People are saying thank you for the 𝗘𝗘𝗢 trade. The more money you make, the happier I am. The more tech. You see, no one knew the 𝗘𝗘𝗢 tech. No one knew the 𝗘𝗘𝗢 tech. We knew what was under the hood. That's why I brought it to you. Now people are starting to realize what we've said for a long time. And I think it's just the beginning, to be honest. It's just the beginning. Also, let me know if you like the beard. I mean, it's the Sunday beard. Tomorrow it won't be here, but let me know if you like it anyway. All right, so why are we here? Well, we're here to talk about the ETH trade today. And the reason why I want to talk about the ETH trade today is because I think this week there's going to be a lot of catalysts. You can see that Ethereum has started moving. It's at $3,031. It nearly hit 3.1. It was $3,074. If you look at the ETH BTC pair, you can see that the ETH BTC pair is finally back on this upward trend. And this is like a long trend. So you can see that finally we're getting ETH movement. We also see that the institutions are starting to ape into ETH. You can see that the money flow is right now very much into ETH, and you can see that the institutions have really started to ape in. This is the open interest in the CME futures, and you can see that it's very much going towards ETH. In fact, ETH is actually right now, if you look at it, going to print the highest candle in the last 100 weeks, 98 weeks. The last 98 weeks, we haven't had such a big candle on ETH, and we're now getting this biggest weekly close on ETH. Also, if you look at this chart over here, what you'll realize is that the next level for ETH is 3.5, and then after that, you got 4,800. So really only two stops on ETH. And then lastly, what I want to show you when it comes to the charts, because I don't want to make this a charting show, is that what you've got, if you look at the ETH BTC chart, you've got the RSI, which broke out and then retested and now continues to go up. And it's just about to break this level over here. And I'm not the only one who sees it. I think Scott Melker also spoke about it today. He says, look, ETH BTC back at key resistance level. The RSI already broke out and retested. And he said he's been mentioning this for a week. ETH looks ready to absolutely rage. And then, you know, the thing about ETH, it's not really about ETH. We don't really care about ETH. We care about this move. We care about Bitcoin to ETH to large caps. But actually, you could care about ETH because I'll show you exactly how you can make a lot of money just trading ETH. And I think if you join me on this, we can actually put down little bits of money and make lots of money. And I'll show you exactly how to do the trade. As I said, the institutions also starting to come in. We told you that this ETH trade would actually play out in December. So in December, I said to you guys, as soon as the Bitcoin ETF is approved, the institutions are going to start looking at ETH. And I mean that at the time, I think, let me just make this chart bigger, but I think at the time ETH was at 2,200. Now you've got ETH at 3,000. Still not like the most exciting move when you take it relative to all the things that we've done, but still a good move. And what you can see is that what the institutions want and what the investors want is they want to try and repeat the Bitcoin trade because they're all counting on this ETF. So they're saying, look, when BlackRock applied for the ETF on the 16th of June, Bitcoin went up 109% before the ETF actually launched, right? So, or just slightly, I mean, you could say, yeah, more like probably 100% or 80% till the ETF launched. So now what investors want to do is they want to repeat that. And they're saying, look, well, the next ETF trade is the ETH trade. So we just want to repeat the ETH trade. And now you can see that this trade is actually getting momentum. So I don't know if you watched, but Miles made a video the other day and he said, I sold all my BTC, Sol, and Injective for these altcoins. And he literally spoke about the ETH and ETH related altcoins, right? So that's what the trade is about. And the question you asked me is, why am I talking to you about ETH today? Why on a Sunday did I come to you about ETH? And I'll tell you why on a Sunday did I come to you about ETH. It's the same post that we have put into Frontrunners. Frontrunners, by the way, is our Discord group. It's the Crypto Banter Discord group, but it's limited to 1,000 people. We're thinking of opening it up to another 500 people. If you want to be in the group, we're not guaranteeing you that we're letting anybody in unless people leave or die. But there is a link here, join Frontrunners. If you click this link, it doesn't mean you're going to get in. It just means that if somebody gets in, then you'll be the first people to get in. We may open it up to another 500 people. Anyway, going back to it. As I said, and this was posted by one of our researchers, Kapoor, in Frontrunners. And he said, look, this is the week for ETH. And why is it the week for ETH? Well, one is because the BTC dominance is reaching the trend line support, which is this little dominance chart over here. You've got the DENCUN upgrade, which we'll talk about. You've got ETH Denver this week, except Kapoor doesn't spell Denver well. It's DENVER. Then you got the ETH ETF deadline on the 23rd of May. And then the technicals actually look very, very, very good. So with that in mind, let's look at each one of these individually. The first one we should look at is the ETH ETF trade. Remember that the institutions and everybody else are now starting to gear themselves up for this ETF trade. They know what happens. They're going to start buying this thing like crazy, like they did with Bitcoin, or at least that's the theory. And the Grayscale CEO says that this is like a done deal. It's not an if, it's a when.
An Ethereum, spot Ethereum ETF is a matter of when, not a matter of if. And
you say that because, with such confidence?
I say that with confidence because my team has been doing the tough work to move this industry forward, work constructively with regulators, focus on disclosure, investor protections, and that's been true for Bitcoin. Proud of the work we did with GBTC, and now.
Do you think? Look, it took a lawsuit to get Gary Gensler to back down on this, right? I mean, and we just had Gary here recently, and you saw that interview. I'd love to get your reaction to it, but clearly, left to his own devices, this is not the outcome that he would have preferred. Mm-hmm. I think that's, at least in between the lines, that's what I think he has said.
Well, he actually wrote a pretty strong dissenting letter around this and really focused on the Grayscale lawsuit the day that the approvals for spot Bitcoin ETFs came out.
And so, which then begs the question, on the Ethereum front, if that is to move forward in a meaningful way, does that require another suit?
It's too early to say. It's too early to say. I think we have a similar dynamic in the market where the SEC has allowed for and approved Ethereum futures ETFs to come to market. The data suggests in a very similar way to Bitcoin that spot Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures have an inextricable tie. The markets have a 99.9% correlation. Same is true around Ethereum. And so we do have a very similar dynamic here. So
it's the same dynamic because the SEC has already approved an ETH futures ETF. If they land up going to court, the judge is just going to call them arbitrary and capricious. And they don't want to be called arbitrary and capricious because the last time they got called arbitrary and capricious, they had to approve the Bitcoin ETF. So I see it almost as a done deal, but we'll talk about that later because it's not a sure thing. It's not a sure thing. So one is, of course, the ETFs, and the deadline for those ETFs, you can see, is in May. So in May, there's SEC final deadlines, 23rd of May, 24th of May, 30th of May. In May is the final deadline for the ETH ETF. So that's the first thing. The next catalyst that we have is this massive upgrade for ETH, which is called the DENCUN upgrade. And what is the DENCUN upgrade? Well, effectively, the biggest part of DENCUN upgrade is this thing called EIP 4844, which what it does is it cuts the fees of the L2s. on Ethereum. When I say cut, I don't just mean like cut by 10%. I mean cut them by 90%. So if you look at like the fees after EIP 4844 and before 4844, you can see that the Optimism fees go down by 90%. The Arbitrum fees will go down by 90%. The Polygon fees will go down by 90%. You're talking about a 90% cut in fees on the L2s on Ethereum. And what that might actually do is it might cause this huge surge in the L2s. Now, we spoke about the L2s yesterday, so I don't want to speak too much about the L2s today because we spoke about them yesterday. We went through all the L2s. I showed you the market caps of the L2s, and I showed you that 𝗏𝗘 has the lowest market cap and has this incredible technology. If you missed that show, just go and watch that show. It's this one over here. It's one of our best shows that we've ever done. In fact, the numbers say it's one of our best shows. Amazing, amazing, amazing calls in that show. But what I'm expecting is when EIP 4844 launches, all of these ETH tokens actually start to run. So you can start actually buying pretty much all of them. I wouldn't buy Starknet. Starknet's a little bit expensive and there's a few tokens in circulation, but we should get a run. And in fact, the 𝗏𝗘 run should actually continue. This 𝗏𝗘 run should actually continue when EIP 4844 starts happening. So watch the L2s in the run up to 4844. Now question, when does 4844 happen? They were talking about 13th of March, but I never, ever, ever trust the Ethereum devs. They're always late. So I don't know. Let's say maybe towards April, this happens. And then the trade is to start buying the L2s. That's the trade around that. The third catalyst that might spark an ETH rally this week is actually an ETH conference, and it's called ETH Denver. It's one of the biggest ETH developer conferences. It starts on the 23rd of Feb, which is that today? When is the 23rd of Feb?
Today's the 25th.
Okay, so it started on Friday, and there's going to be a lot of talks, and there's going to be a lot of projects and a lot of excitement around Ethereum. And specifically, I think there's going to be a lot of talks around ETH staking, because you can see that the ETH staking graph has gone up. And much, much, much more importantly, I think they're going to talk a lot about restaking, and specifically around EigenLayer, because EigenLayer is, for those of you who don't know what EigenLayer is, EigenLayer allows you to take your staked ETH, you take your staked ETH, and you deposit it into EigenLayer to secure other networks using those staked ETH. Now, EigenLayer is said to be probably the most exciting launch this year. They're talking about a $20 billion fully diluted valuation. And if you look at the total value locked in EigenLayer, you're talking about $8.1 billion, $8.2 billion locked up in this EigenLayer thing. EigenLayer is going to start a completely new narrative and a completely new use case for ETH, which is staking on EigenLayer and getting the EigenLayer points and the airdrops for projects that are going to be launched on EigenLayer. So what projects are going to be launched? Chains that want to be validated using staked ETH. That's like one use case for this. So this narrative, which I think a lot of it's going to come out of ETH Denver this week, this narrative is going to kick off another big run, I think, for ETH. The third narrative is ETH deflation. Now, I take this with a pinch of salt. So yes, ETH is deflationary, but if you look at how deflationary ETH is, it's only like 0.5% deflationary so far to date this year, and we are actually in a bull market. So when people say that ETH is deflationary, I'm more tempted to say that ETH is neutral. It doesn't have inflation, but it also doesn't have deflation until the uses actually start to grow and to grow exponentially. And so I think when you combine all these narratives, and when you say combine all the narratives, the move in the charts, then you look at 4844 and this DENCUN upgrade, which will make the ETH layer 2s much more attractive and spur more development on the layer 2s. Then and that'll drive the layer 2s. Then you look at ETH Denver coming up this week. Then you look at the staked ETH and the restaking on ETH and this whole EigenLayer thing. And then you add to that the fact that ETH is a little bit deflationary. I think that this is the week that ETH may actually start to pump. Now, I know what you're thinking. Like, yeah, we're a little bit excited about ETH, but we're not very, very, very excited about ETH. For us, because we're such degens, we just more excited about ETH because once ETH starts moving, then we can go into the traditional alt cycle. I don't know if that's the case, to be honest, because, I mean, if I look at the altcoins and I look at the last month in the altcoins, just look at these moves, like Singularity, even though I'm burning on my short there, 76 cents, you've got to congratulate Singularity. WorldCoin, also I'm burning on my short there. The two shorts, the two biggest bubbles in the whole thing here. the question is, can I remain solvent for longer than these things can remain, can keep going up? I mean, so when you look at this, you kind of say to yourself, well, we actually kind of have had an alt season. But if you go to the bubbles and you click on settings and you compare things against Bitcoin, just by changing the currency that you're comparing against, you can see it's not that much of a pretty picture. A lot of these tokens should actually be going, a lot of these tokens actually could have done better against Bitcoin. A lot of the calls that we made actually have done brilliantly well. Like we've up 40%, Render up 40%, Filecoin, where's Filecoin? Filecoin should be here. And it's definitely up against Bitcoin. Let's have a look here. File. There it is, up 26.8%. So you see it over there. So we are more excited about the altcoin rally that will follow the ETH run. But I'm going to show you in a bit how you could actually land up making a lot of money on ETH. Quite an easy way to make a whole lot of money around ETH. But first, before that, I do want to show you one or two risks. Someone says Banter is the best newsroom on the planet. So you know what I love about the newsroom? By the way, if you haven't been to newsroom, it's over here. Just click on newsroom. It's also on the app. The app is the fastest app you'll ever play with, and it's an amazing app. But this is where we actually banter and where I get all my research from, where I make the show. And you can actually see literally all 40 researchers are here. We've been bantering the whole day. You get this banter for free. Just go to Banter Bubbles, click on the newsroom and join us here. Just join us. Yeah, I mean, you can see, like we were talking about Moby. I said there's still 50 cents in it. Banter eating good, yeah, because we've been calling it. But you can see we also banter, and it's also about the news. All right, let's talk about some of the risks, because we've spoken about the opportunities, we've spoken about the catalyst, but you need to know the risks as well. So the first risk that I see around ETH is the fact that the ETF might not be a sure thing. So the CIO of Valkyrie is one of the issuing companies of ETFs. He says the ETH approval will likely take 1 to 2 years. He says that, you know, I actually spoke to him and I spoke to James Seyffert last week, and what they said is, look, seems kind of strange. Thanks for the quote you called deep in the dollars. Good call, man. It's just started, David. It's just started. He says, look, by now, the SEC should start engaging with us. I mean, you've got March, you've got April, and mid-May. March, April, and mid-May, the SEC should start engaging with us. The SEC hasn't even started to engage with the issuers around the ETH ETF. Now, what can that mean? That can mean that they don't have much to talk about because they've just done the Bitcoin ETF, or that they're going to kick the can down the road somehow by denying it and then plan to actually go to court. So what I'm trying to show you is that this ETH ETF thing is not a sure thing. I mean, I want to think that it's a sure thing because there is an ETH futures ETF, but I don't know. It just feels to me like the SEC would have done, you know, they've given us the Bitcoin ETF. Why should they give us the ETH ETF? The other thing is that, remember, with ETH, there's a staking component, which makes it a little bit more complicated. It's not as simple as Bitcoin where, you know, it's just Bitcoin and you invest your Bitcoin and you buy and sell Bitcoin. Here, you've got staking and, you know, authorized participants can deliver cash. And it's like, it's not that simple. And that's why I think that the SEC might actually be throwing a curveball when it comes to ETH. So how am I playing this trade? Let's get back into it and just say, look, there are catalysts, there are risks, and there's not that much upside in ETH. Like, how far is ETH going to go? Is it going to do a 2x? 2x will take you to $7,000 or $6,000. That would be a huge move for ETH. But if ETH gets to $6,000, the tokens that are going to run are actually going to be the altcoins. You know that, and I know that. We're not worried. It's not going to be the ETH tokens. Maybe the ETH layer 2 tokens will actually do well. And as I mentioned to you, there is actually a lot of risk, because what happens if we don't get the ETF? Then we get like a big dump in ETH in May, around May, which is just after the halving. We get this like post-halving dump in ETH just because the ETF wasn't approved. So I'm going to show you a very easy way to hedge yourself. And when I say hedge yourself, I mean the following. One, I'm going to show you how you can make a lot of money on Ethereum by just using a little bit of money, highly leveraged, without the option of getting liquidated. So that's one thing I'm going to do. And the other thing is I'm actually going to show you how to protect your portfolio. So yes, we can take leverage. And if you want to take leverage, then sign up to any of the exchanges, Bybit, BitGet, Deribit, Bitflex, BingX, and even Evo. And you can stand a chance to win the Vision Pro. I know you guys all want this Vision Pro because you want to trade meme coins.
4 different instances of X.
So you want to trade meme coins like absolute degens. Remember, we are starting to give away the headsets tomorrow. Tomorrow we start. So if you haven't already signed up to any of these exchanges, today I'm going to show you two ways that you can win an Apple Vision Pro. Sign up to any exchange, any one of these exchanges today. Tomorrow we're starting to give away 7 Apple Vision Pros. Okay, but how do you put down a little bit of money and make a lot of money without the opportunity to get liquidated, without the chance to get liquidated? And this is what I want to show you. It's probably the only degen trade on Ethereum that I actually like. So it comes down to using options. And for those of you who don't know what an option is, it's the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell a certain asset at a certain point in time. There's a call option, which gives you the right to buy an asset at a set price at a future point in time, and a put option, which gives you the right to sell an asset at a future point in time. And I'll show you in 1 second how we're going to use these to make money on ETH. Okay, so, and put down little money and make a lot of money on ETH. So here's how you do it. First thing is you go to our partners at Deribit. You sign up with a Deribit account. By the way, if you do sign up with a Deribit account, the first 50 traders get $50 each in their accounts. The second 100 traders get $25 each. And one lucky winner gets an extra Apple Vision Pro, not the ones that we're giving away. This is what they're giving away. Then, when you get to the platform, we look at when are all these things going to happen? And we think that the ETF approval or denial would happen at the end of May, right? That is when the ETF approval or denial may happen. So what do? We go to the options on Deribit, we go to the ETH options, and we go to the 28th of June options, because that's the biggest options closeout after the ETF approval or denial date. Now here's where it gets fun. Remember, there's two types of options. A call allows you to buy ETH for a certain price at a certain point in time, and a put allows you to sell ETH for a certain price at a certain point in time. So we're now at a certain point in time, which is the 28th of June or the end of June. And we're going to look at ETH options, which are about in the money. So at $3,100, more or less. So ETH is trading right now at 3,041. So we'll go to ETH options in the money, at the money. So that means that if I want to buy an ETH option at a price today of 3,000, we'll give you guys the spreadsheet at 3,000. This is where the magic happens. Just watch the magic here. If I want to buy an option for ETH at a strike price of $3,000 on the 30th of June, so I'll show you very quickly how to make money here. So you go to options, 28th of June, that's good enough for me. You go to a $3,000 or $3,100 strike price. It'll cost you $520, or let's go to $3,000. It will cost you $548. So let's put it in here, call it $550. So you've now bought an option. You've paid, which the strike price is $3,100. It's a call option. You pay $550. Now watch what happens. If the price of ETH at the strike date, which is 30th of June, assuming that the ETF has been approved, the price of ETH goes to $4,000. Your strike price was $3,100, right? That's the strike price that we chose. And so you've made yourself $900, but you paid $550 for the option. So your net profit is actually $350. So you put down $550 today, and if ETH goes to $4,000, you've made a net profit of $350, which, by the way, is 63.6%. Now, had you invested the same money in ETH, i.e. bought ETH at $3,050 today, and then waited for it to get to 4,000, you would have only made 31%. So you can invest less, you can invest $550 and get the full upside, less the cost of the option, and double your return. Now, watch what happens here. If ETH goes to $4,500, your return is 154%, and if you'd invested in ETH, it would only be 47%. And so you're getting a leveraged upside. You're putting down a little bit of money. You're getting exposure to one whole Ethereum by putting down $550. You're getting a leverage exposure to all the upside, and you can't be liquidated. In fact, the most amount that you can lose is the amount that you pay for the option, which is $550. That's why all the institutions are actually using options. What they're doing, and you can see it over here, if you go to this data over here, and you look at the CME options open interest, look at how the ETH open interest has spiked up, because this is the tool that institutions are using. They're using options. And so one thing to do is, if you're bullish, but you don't have a lot of money and you want to leverage your ETH returns without actually getting liquidated, you go to Deribit, you go to the end of June, you buy yourself an option You pay $523 for a $3,100 option. And by the way, I think I'm actually going to buy one of these. So let's buy a $3,100 option. Amount 1, I'm buying one of these. Bang. Okay, gone. So I've trade confirmation. There's my confirmation. I've bought myself one option. So that means that if ETH goes up to 4,000, 4,500, I'm going to make 154% on my option. I'm going to publish this spreadsheet for you guys later today. It's going to be after the show because I've got to find a way for you guys to actually copy this spreadsheet. And so come back in a couple of minutes after the show. Someone says, what's the downside of the option? You can only lose the price that you pay. If ETH goes below 3,000 or 3,100, you just lose your $550 and it's gone. That's it. But you can't get liquidated. It can't go any more than that. Now I'll show you something else. So that means that if you want to get exposure to ETH, you don't really have money, you want to get exposure to one whole Ethereum, what do? You put down $550 instead of putting down $3,100. You get the full upside and your maximum downside is $550. It's the easiest leverage trade in the world without actually taking leverage. Why do I call it a leverage trade? Because notice, as the price of ETH goes higher, your return gets higher and higher and higher above the spot return. Now, what if you're bearish? What if your name's 𝗏𝗄? Or what if you're in 𝗏𝗄's Telegram group and you're bearish as fuck? You think you actually want to protect your portfolio. You say, look, hold on a second. I've actually got one ETH. And I'm so scared that the price of ETH is going to go down. I don't want to lose all my money. That's where you take a put. So then you'd go to Deribit and you'd look at the put option side. Remember, that's the calls and that's the puts. And you say, look, I'm too scared for ETH to go anywhere below 3,100. If ETH goes anywhere below 3,100, I want to protect the value of my portfolio. So what do you do? Because you have one ETH. You want to protect the value of your portfolio. How do you protect the value of a portfolio? Very simple. You sell a put. Sorry, you buy a put. A put gives you the right to sell ETH at a certain price at a certain date. So let's say that today's price is $3,050. You go to a 3,000 strike price. Here's a 3,000 strike price. And it costs you $365 for lack of a, so $365, $350. Let's just call it that. Now let's say ETH goes down to $2,000. 𝗪𝗔𝗣𝗟 denies the ETF. ETH goes down to $2,000. You make a profit of $1,000 because your strike price was 3,000. So and so you're making all the downside all the way down to 2,000. So you're making $1,000 profit. You paid $350 for that option, which means you have $650 profit, and you spent $350, which means you made an 85% return on your investment. And if you would have held ETH, you would have been down 34%. So not only can you bet that the market's going up, but you can actually hedge yourself in case the market's going down using these options. And that's exactly what the institutions are doing. They're using options to hedge their downside and to maximize their upside. And the problem is that now that the institutions are playing here with us, we can't be the little fish that they come and swallow. We've got to make sure that we use the same trading tools that they're using. And that's why I wanted to show you how you can use options. So you've got to choose now. You can choose to go for the upside and put down $500 or whatever the number is and make any upside above the $500, or you can choose to protect your downside using these options. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish the spreadsheet for you in about half an hour, and then just go and have a look at the platform and just play with the numbers on the spreadsheet. When you do that, you'll realize that options are actually a much more degen way to get leverage without getting liquidated than actually trading 10x leverage on your account and not being able to sleep at night. With an option, the most you can lose is the premium that you pay on the option. So when I bought this option over here, the most I can lose, if ETH goes down, I lose $500. But if ETH goes up, I'm making a leveraged return. So listen, reminding you again that if you haven't already signed up for Deribit or any of the other exchanges, Deribit, sign up today. You can get first 50 of you that sign up will get $50. Second, we'll get 100. We'll get $25. One of you will win a Apple Vision Pro. And also sign up to any exchange, even Deribit, and you get a second chance to win an Apple Vision Pro. And that's, probably the easiest way that you can win yourself an Apple Vision Pro. So listen, let me know what you think of the ETH trade. Let me know if you're going to take the ETH trade. Let me know if you're bullish about the ETH trade. Let me know if you think the ETF is actually going to be approved. I'm going to see you guys again tomorrow. We've got a jam-packed, alpha-packed show for you tomorrow. Even bigger than yesterday and even bigger than today. See you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.